Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Silhouette of a Queen. In light of the Queen, a Black History Month series, I am your host and founder of the Silhouette of the Queen segments. I am Tiffany Devon, and I am a certified life coach and wardrobe stylist that styles leaders and influencers in fearless fashions. And I just want to thank you so much for rocking with me tonight for the fourth edition, because I'm going to be wrapping this up tonight for the In Light of the Queen at Black History Month series. I'm so excited for tonight. I've been excited about the entire series. Let me tell you something about this In Light of the Queen series that I've been doing. Listen, I didn't know that it would really bless me. Let me tell you how much it blessed me. The reason why is because I'm looking at Black History Month just a little differently this year in 2021. And I'll tell you why, because we're in the midst of a global pandemic. It has affected us in so many ways. It has affected how we've done life. It has affected a lot of us with our mental and emotional health, how we do life, how we shop. I mean, it just has changed everything. And one of the things that I could tell you just from doing this series is that I had the opportunity to really look at the same stories and the women that I grew up researching and learning about in a different way, and I appreciated them in a much different way. Why? Because I really understood what it took for them to be who they were in the midst of a time and era that they were in. A lot of them were overcoming what it was like and to redefine what a woman was and how a woman showed up and what she did. You know, they were entrepreneurs and deciding that they weren't going to rely solely on men to be the breadwinners, that they were going to birth businesses and movements and ideas in the midst of a time of great turmoil. And so I looked at that and said, if they could do that back then in the late 1800s and the early 1900s and the 1930s and 70s and up until now, surely I can prosper too and thrive in a global pandemic. So that's what I hope that if you've been watching the Silhouette of a Queen, In Light of the Queen series, I hope that that is what you take away from this series. So I want to go ahead and get started in tonight and let you know if this is your first time watching this series. And I want to tell you, Silhouette of a Queen is for a powerful and resilient woman who has yet to be seen, felt, or heard. And when we think of a silhouette, we think of an image that is still yet becoming, still yet evolving. And when we think of a queen and her embodiment of who she is as a woman, the crown that she rocks on her head, it is the weight and the responsibility of the role that she is taking on as a woman to say that I am going to carry myself in a certain way. I'm going to make sure not only do I just look good on the outside, that's one thing, but we also want to make sure that our mental and our emotional health is together too. So when I'm talking about a crown, I'm talking about becoming the total package, becoming the total woman, not just a woman who looks good, but a woman who is actually walking in her purpose, starting to shed some of the things that may have happened to us, right? Life happens to us. Sometimes we could not always control some of the things that we went through, but we can control our present moment and the outcome of what tomorrow is. So that's why I created this. So tonight, I just want to welcome you guys in and let you know I want to really just go ahead and get started with tonight because two women that I'm going to be featuring today, and then I'm going to unveil the mystery queen. She is a young queen that is emerging, and I believe we're going to see great, wonderful works as she continues to grow and move in her being. But the first two women tonight that I am going to be sharing is none other than, let me go ahead and kind of prop and get this started here. One moment. But the two ladies that I want to talk about tonight are Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett and Amanda Gorman. And they are ladies that are presently in our culture and they get to embody, we get to actually watch their life unfold before us. So I just want to welcome you to the final Black History Month series in light of the Queen. And we're going to go ahead and get started with Dr. Kizzmekia, Dr. Kizzmekia Kizzy Corbett. Wow, that was quite a quite a tongue twister. Okay, so I'm going to bring you who she is. If you're not familiar with her, you're going to get quite familiar with her. She's been in the media all over since last year, since the outbreak of the coronavirus. So she was born January 26, 1986. She is currently 35 years old. She is an American viral immunologist, and she is the scientific lead of the development of the COVID-19 vaccine. And this is what her quote is. She says, "I am Christian, I am Black, I am Southern, I'm an empath, I'm feisty, sassy, and fashionable. I would say that my role as a scientist is really about my passion and purpose for the world and for giving back to the world." So I just want to share with you what her story is tonight. Is Dr. Kizzmekia Kizzy Corbett was born in Hurdle Hills, North Carolina, to Rhonda Brooks. She grew up in Hillsborough, North Carolina, where she had a large family of step siblings and foster siblings. Dr. Corbett went on to Oak Lane Elementary School and A.L. Stanbeck Middle School. Her fourth grade teacher, Murtis Brashear, recalls recognizing Dr. Corbett's talent at an early age and encouraging her mother to place her in advanced classes. "I always thought she is going to do something one day." She dotted I's and crossed T's, "the best in my 30 years of teaching," Bradshaw said in a 2020 interview with the Washington Post. In 2004, Dr. Corbett graduated from Orange High School in Hillsborough, North Carolina. In 2008, she received a BS in Biological Sciences and Sociology from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, known as UMBC. As a student in the Mayer Hall Scholars Program, in 2014, Dr. Corbett received a PhD in microbiology and immunology from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at the National Institute of Health, credits Dr. Corbett during a webinar for her work. "The vaccine you are going to be taking was developed by an African American woman, and that is just fact," Dr. Fauci said. Dr. Corbett's interest in science started from an early age. She never knew the difference she would make. "To be honest, I didn't realize the level of impact that my visibility might have. I do my work because I love my work," Dr. Corbett said. One opportunity in her life made a key difference. She attended the University of Maryland, Baltimore as a Meyer Hall Scholar, an aggressive program that mentors minorities and women in science. Dr. Freeman Hrabowski has been president at the University of Maryland, Baltimore for nearly 30 years. He said Dr. Corbett had a strong science background, but the way she was able to talk to people separated her from the rest. She was definitely going to make it in life, Dr. Hrabowski said. "We need more scientists who can connect to people." She could do that when she was 17, easily. "What we do at UMBC is to support students of color, Black, but also students in general to make sure they make it in science." Dr. Corbett's understanding of the social cultural issues and her knowledge of science has made her an influential person in the scientific community. In a time where vaccine skepticism is high among African Americans, Dr. Corbett hopes Black people will put faith in the vaccine and faith in the scientists working behind the scenes to bring it to the American people. Number one is that I get it. And then number two is to really take advantage of the level of transparency that we are attempting. Even I haven't seen before, such as FDA hearings and briefings of being broadcast online and data coming out at almost instantly, she said. At the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Corbett started working on a vaccine to protect people from the coronavirus disease, recognizing that the virus was similar to severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. Dr. Corbett's team utilized previous knowledge of optimal coronavirus S proteins to tackle the novel coronavirus. As for Dr. Habrowski, he believes Corbett deserves all the visibility she can get. She cannot be a hidden figure, he said. She needs to be in textbooks. Little girls need to see her of all races. This is what's possible. In recognition of her work on the vaccine, Orange County, North Carolina named January 12, 2021 as Dr. Kizzy Corbett Day. And some of these excerpts were actually taken from CBS News. So when we listen to this life, the life of Dr. Kizzy Corbett, one of the things that I am reminded of why it's so important to not, there's this scripture that the Bible says, do not despise the day of small beginnings. Do not think your preparation is in vain. A lot of times when we have this vision, this great thing that burns within us, we think, when is this going to happen? When is my time going to shine? The reason why Dr. Kizzy could come forth in such a time when the world is in complete, utter chaos is because she was doing the work behind the scenes, that when the curtain draw, right, she was able to come forth and be confident and bold in what she was doing, and lead from a place of confidence and boldness and assuredness, because she knew and trusted in the work that she was doing. Whereas most people, as far as have a lot of skepticism regarding the vaccine, which I truly understand it, I truly get it as an African American. And for those of you that may be watching, you're not familiar with why African Americans are nervous and even fearful of the vaccine. All you have to do is Google the Tuskegee experiment. And for lack of time, I really won't go into that. But her being present is a game changer. Representation really does matter. When I can't even tell you why the importance of representation. Representation matters because when you have the opportunity to have a Black woman to have to be in a space that may not always be led by another person of color, there's just a level of, okay, this is something to pay attention to. And so I'm really just, I am inspired by her life because of the work and the preparation that was done. This is why the vaccine could come forth so quickly. It wasn't just something that just popped out of nowhere. It seems like it did, but they had been working and studying this virus for years. And if you were to watch any other interviews that are out there on the internet, she will tell you that they've been studying the other coronaviruses for a while. It wasn't hard to really, start working on a vaccine for this virus that has wreaked so heavily across our world. And so I hope that this is what you can see tonight, even just with her life. And our next queen is Amanda Gorman. And Amanda Gorman is an American poet and activist. She was born March 7th, 1998, and she is currently 22 years old. And she says, every day we write the future. Together we sign it. Together we declare it. We share it. For this truth marches on inside each of us. Amanda Gorman was born and raised in Los Angeles to a single mother who is a middle school teacher. She has an older brother named Spencer and a twin sister named Gabrielle. Gorman worked to overcome a speech impediment as a child. She told the Los Angeles Times that she now believes the disorder may have enhanced her skills as a writer. I don't look at my disability as a weakness. It made me the performer that I am and the storyteller that I strive to be. When you have to teach yourself how to say sounds, when you have to be highly concerned about pronunciation, It gives you a certain awareness of sonics of the auditory experience. Gorman is the youngest poet to make history at President Joe Biden's inauguration ceremony. The Biden inaugural team reached out to Gorman in the late December about delivering an original poem at the inauguration ceremony. She told the Associated Press that she was largely granted free reign over the poem, but was encouraged to highlight unity and hope. Gorman said the Biden team also recommended that she stay away from anything that might sound like they were celebrating the end of President Donald Trump's tenure. Gorman explained she initially struggled to write more than a few lines per day, but it was the incident on Capitol Hill that occurred on January 6th that encouraged her to finish writing the poem, The Hill We Climb. I want to share just some few words from this poem that she read during the inauguration. And so she says, and so we lift our gazes, not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieve, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we that even as we are tired, we try, that will forever be tied together victoriously. This poem had touched the hearts of so many Americans coming from just a tumultuous time in our country with dealing with some of the racial injustices that's been going on and plaguing our country. And those words from her poem just, it was almost like a healing balm that we needed to hear for our spirits to continue to believe for a better and greater day. And so it was those words that touched the hearts of Americans. So the 22-year-old US National Youth Poet Laureate has already become a fashion sensation. The red satin Prada headband she wore during the inauguration ceremony led to the item selling out, which is what you see here in the picture, while her yellow Prada coat caused searches for yellow coats to increase 1,328%, according to the fashion in search engine list. In the wake of her appearance after the inauguration, she signed with modeling agency IMG Models. She stated that fashion meant so much to her, and it was her way to lean into the history that came before her and the people that supported her. Following the inauguration, Gorman recited a poem during the pregame ceremonies at the Super Bowl on February 7th. She is the first poet to ever perform at the Super Bowl and recite a poem honoring everyday heroes before the coin toss. She is well on her way to becoming a trendsetter, and we look forward to seeing what trail she will continue to blaze. So, wow, this young lady right here, 22 years old, just really walking in her purpose. And I love that she did not allow her speech impediment to stop her from moving forward, because she could have very well just been someone who had this gift of writing poetry, but yet knew that this could hinder her and not even go any further. But she decided that, you know, she was going to go to a speech therapist and work on that. And that she did. She delivered her poem so eloquently, you could not hear that she had this condition. And one of the things that I didn't mention here, but just from my research, was her saying that it made her have to research a little bit more on how to develop even becoming a better writer, because there are still certain words that she can't always say, or certain letters that she can't say, so it makes her have to strive to say those things differently. But again, not allowing this this issue to stop her from glowing in her gift. and to get assistance with moving challenges. And I think to myself, like, how many of us talk ourselves out of doing something and moving forward because we say, well, I don't like to speak and I don't like to talk to people and I don't and I don't and I don't and I don't. When I knew that God was really calling me to start speaking in front of people, and I knew that I could see my life's work, um, I saw it being able to speak before others. The one thing that I did, because I did not like speaking in front of people, I will always get so nervous. I just like, oh my God, please, 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 I do not want to do this. Let me tell you how much I hated public speaking. When I was in college, I purposely skipped a group speech class when I was in college because I hated speaking so much. And so it was so funny. Like the very following week, I go to class thinking like, yes, I know I was so wrong for leaving my group hanging. But I was like, they'll be all right without me. They don't need me. And I get to class the following week and they said, oh, she didn't even call on us, but she said we're going to do it today. You should have seen the look on my face. And so fast forward years later, I think around like 2010, I took a public speaking through Toastmasters. I don't know if you're familiar with Toastmasters, but Toastmasters is a public speaking group that helps you to get over your fear of public speaking by providing tools and things like that to help you, get good at public speaking. So I did that, and that was what I needed to gain the confidence to start speaking before other people. So do not let your what you think you don't have or have enough of work what you got, and then that thing will multiply. It's just God just wants to see if you're going to take what He has given you and stretch it to where it becomes more. So I'm really excited to feature this young queen. Um, she's our mystery queen that I didn't even put out there on social media. I couldn't wait to share her until tonight. And this is the lovely Miss Yolanda Renee King. And Yolanda Renee King is the granddaughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and she is the daughter of Martin Luther King III. She is an activist. She was born May 25th, 2008, and she's only 12 years old. And she says the first phase was civil rights, and the new phase is genuine equality. And I'm going to tell you why I featured this young queen, because I had the opportunity of attending the Get Your Knee Off Our Necks commitment march in Washington last year. It was on August 28th of 2020. And it was in the same spot she delivered her speech where her grandfather, Martin Luther King Jr. It was the 57th anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech that occurred there in 1963. And I was just so blown away by this sense of purpose and confidence that she was able to speak before thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And I just thought, wow, like if she can do this, whoa. And let me tell you why this also too, it was so life-changing for me to be there, because of course it was right in the height of this pandemic, and I was so nervous about should I about getting on a plane in the midst of the coronavirus. Like it was just, oh my goodness. But I am so happy that I did. It was life changing in more ways than I could ever count. But to be there in this space, in this crowd, like I'm there in the midst of this crowd with all of these people, there for a sense of change to come into our nation. And so to be a part of something that is history, that's part of history, was just more that I could just really just take in. And so I wanted to share just what she said in her speech at just 12 years old. She says, "Great challenges produce great leaders. We have mastered the selfie and TikTok. Now we must master ourselves." Less than a year before he was assassinated, my grandfather predicted this moment. He said, "We were moving into a new phase of the struggle. The first phase was civil rights, and the new phase is genuine equality." Genuine equality is why we are here today and why people are coming together all across the world, from New Zealand to New Jersey. He said that we must not forget the days of Montgomery. We must not forget the sit-in movement. We must not forget the freedom rides, the Birmingham movement, and Selma. Papa King, we won't. My generation already has taken to the streets peacefully and with masks and socially distanced to protest racism. And I want to ask the young people here to join me in pledging that we have only just begun to fight. When we look at this young girl, she's 12 years old. Just look at these pictures here before I close this. When we look at her, we first have to just understand and see the legacy that is all over her life. She comes from a great legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And as I was just even researching her story and her life and understanding, when the Bible says, leave an inheritance to our children and their children's children, and her father, Martin Luther King III, and she is part of that lineage that the stands up and fights for equality. And I understood like why each generation is charged with receiving the baton from the last generation to continue the race that they did. And just an understanding that all of us have a role to play in this thing called life, that we cannot just think that our lives is just equated down to just working a job, collecting 401k and all of this. That's great, those are byproducts, but even when you leave this life, you can't take none of that with you. And so it's about, what kind of impact are you making while you're here? Whose life are you changing? What is coming through you? What is being said? What are people reading when they look at your life? What do you want people to say about you when you are long gone? How will you change? How will their life have been better because they know you? So it's important to know our role and to know our parts. And sometimes, I also kind of thought of when we are thinking about, the return on investment. Sometimes like when you're pouring into people. I am a coach and I'm a mentor, and I was just thinking over my life and the people that have poured into me, and some of them got to see, fruit from the knowledge that they were pouring into me. Some of them not so much, only because sometimes you may not always see the full manifestation of what you've come to do in their life, but you should see something. But sometimes you may not see it. Sometimes there are words that will be planted that you will say to someone that it will come back to them 30 years later. It will ring a bell for them to be like, I remember when she said that to me. I remember when he said that to me. So words are eternal. We have to be careful when we release certain words into the atmosphere, because they are going to create a thing. And one of the things I loved, I read this in a book by Dr. Cindy Trim. It's called Commanding Your Morning. And she talks about words have a prophetic implication, and they sit in the realm of the spirit, incubating for the right time to manifest. So some things, like your grandmother or your great grandmother could have prayed something, how 100 years ago, 200, whatever. So whoever in your bloodline could have prayed something, and that thing sits into the right time for it to manifest. This is why we have to be careful of the things that we say, because we may not always see it in our lifetime, but someone that's coming after us can. So it just holds a different level of weight and response, and allow us to see the responsibility that we have. And so I just wanted to close this out tonight for the In Light of the Queen, a Black History Month series. I think it's always great to give people their flowers while they're living. That's a popular phrase that people are saying, and it just really simply means to tell people that you love them. Tell them why you like them. Tell them why you admire them. People need to hear it. People need to hear that you don't have to wait until somebody is dead and then try to eulogize them or stand up and give a good word. That's where that phrase comes up. Give them their flowers while they're living. Um, Adore them, praise them. Let them know how much you see them. Let them know how much they're valuable. And so I wanted to celebrate current queens in our age that we can see that are walking in their greatness, they're walking in their purpose, they are standing in their own light, they know who they are, they know why they're positioned, and it gives light to us for us to get into position, for us to do what we're supposed to do, and not apologize for it, and not turn our light off, and not dumb it down, and because we have a history of women's lives that we can turn around and look back at and say, if she was able to do that during her time, I can too. And so this is just these ladies, Dr. Kizzy Corbett, Amanda Gorman, and Yolanda Renee King are the quintessential phrase of the Black girl magic. Okay. I know if you haven't been familiar with the term Black girl magic, you see it all over social media. Hashtag Black girl magic. Black girl magic is a term that was formed by Kashawn Thompson in 2013, and it was popularized by her. Uh, she coined this term as a way to celebrate the beauty, power, and resilience of Black women, and to congratulate Black women on their accomplishments. So when you see the term Black girl magic, it is to salute the queen that said, girl, you are doing your thing. Black girl magic. To be able to maybe, pierce through glass ceilings and break records that have never been done before. Black girl magic. So I want you guys to tonight is to think about that. It has been such an honor to be able to do this. I am so inspired to continue the path, even when it gets difficult for me, to understand that I must continue getting free. I must continue shedding some of the things that are from old and deciding, okay, what should I take with me? What should I discard of? And paying homage, like, okay, I love the people that came before me. If it wasn't for their fight, if it wasn't for their tenacity, I wouldn't be here. And to stand in their light and say, I know you probably couldn't get past this part. I know that you may not have always had the courage to stand up for these things, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to break certain curses. I'm going to be the one that's going to tell a new story. I am going to do things that will set the next person up that comes after me that won't have to do it. Is it hard? Yes, it's hard. Have I been doing hard things? Yes, I've been doing hard things. But, with God on my side, I will continue to tear down certain strongholds that have been in my life long before Tiffany got here. I didn't always understand it. I didn't always like the process, but I stand in their life to say, okay, this is where it stops. And I'm going to do something different and new. So I hope that this tonight has shed a light on what it really is to be a queen in 2021 and the charge that is being charged to you to be a queen and to stand in your light and to be who you are and be called and do it with poise and do it with creativity and do it with fun and do it with all of the yummy goody that the Creator has put inside of you to birth and express who He is. You are an expression of God. People get to see what God really embodies when you walk into the room. So it's so important for you to be who you are. And so I just want to thank you all, God. Thank you all for tonight. Thank you for watching the In Light of the Queen of Black History Month series. This is part 4. This is the last one. You can catch all of the other series and segments. They are here on my Facebook page and on YouTube as well. It has been an honor. I will be back to my regular scheduled program next week, and I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a good evening, and all hail the Queen. All right, talk to y'all later. Bye bye.